Poor single dad Janitor had a one-night stand with a drunk billionaire. Then this happened. The envelope lying on the polished conference table held more power than anyone in the room realized. One signature inside it could destroy a billion-dollar empire, reunite a broken family, and expose a secret that had quietly changed 2 lives forever. The wealthy executive stared in disbelief as the poorly dressed janitor walked through the front doors carrying nothing more than a worn backpack and the tiny hand of his young daughter. None of them knew that one unexpected daytime decision made months earlier had brought them all to this unforgettable moment. Before we begin this emotional journey, if you believe kindness can change lives, forgiveness is stronger than pride, and everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps our community continue sharing stories filled with hope and compassion. Graham Mercer had never expected life to become so difficult. At 36, he worked as a janitor inside one of the largest financial companies in the country. Every morning before sunrise, he cleaned marble floors, emptied overflowing trash bins, polished glass walls, and quietly disappeared before the executives filled the building with expensive suits and louder opinions. Few people knew that Graham had once dreamed of becoming an architect. Even fewer knew he had become a single father after losing his wife, Evelyn, to a sudden illness 5 years earlier. Since then, every decision he made centered around his cheerful 7-year-old daughter, Hazel, whose bright smile gave him a reason to keep moving even when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm him. Money was always short. Graham often skipped lunch so Hazel could have fresh fruit in her school bag. His apartment was small, the furniture was old, and his car barely started most mornings. Still, their tiny home overflowed with laughter, handmade drawings taped to the refrigerator, and bedtime stories read every afternoon after school because Graham's work schedule required him to sleep early. Their greatest wealth was the love they shared. Across the city lived Celeste Rowan, one of the youngest self-made billionaires in America. She had built a technology empire before turning 40, earning admiration from investors but very little affection from those closest to her. Success had surrounded her with people who wanted something from her, leaving almost no room for genuine friendships. Every business lunch became another negotiation. Every public appearance became another performance. Beneath the designer clothing and magazine covers lived a woman carrying loneliness that no amount of wealth could erase. One afternoon, after an exhausting charity event that had unexpectedly reopened painful memories of her late parents, Celeste made an uncharacteristically reckless decision. Overwhelmed emotionally, she consumed far too much alcohol during a private daytime celebration held after the fundraiser. Embarrassed by her condition and desperate to avoid photographers gathering outside, she slipped away before anyone noticed. While walking through a quiet downtown park, she stumbled and nearly collapsed. Graham had just finished his shift early and was taking Hazel to her grandmother for the afternoon before returning to pick up cleaning supplies. Seeing someone clearly vulnerable, he immediately helped without recognizing who she was. His only concern was ensuring she was safe. Because Celeste insisted she did not want the media or her employees involved, Graham reluctantly agreed to help her reach a nearby boutique hotel where she had reserved a private suite under an alias. Hotel staff assumed they already knew each other and quietly escorted them upstairs. Graham remained only long enough to make sure she had water, food, and medical assistance available if needed. The next morning, during the briefest moments after Celeste had recovered, confusion and embarrassment filled the room. Both remembered little beyond sharing honest conversations about grief, loneliness, and how success or poverty could never protect anyone from heartbreak. Their encounter remained deeply personal, respectful, and unexpected, leaving them both uncertain about what truly happened emotionally between them. Graham quietly left after wishing her well, believing their paths would never cross again. Life returned to normal, or so he believed. Weeks passed. Graham continued cleaning hallways while helping Hazel finish school projects at the kitchen table. Bills continued arriving. The landlord increased rent. His old car finally stopped working, forcing him to take crowded buses across town. Yet Graham refused to complain. Every sacrifice felt worthwhile whenever Hazel hugged him after school. Meanwhile, Celeste found herself unable to forget the humble janitor whose compassion had asked for nothing in return. He had not recognized her wealth. He had not requested favors, photographs, or money. For the first time in years, someone had treated her simply as another human being. Curiosity slowly became admiration. Without revealing herself, she quietly instructed a trusted investigator to locate Graham, not to interfere with his life, but to understand who he really was. The report left her speechless. It described a father who volunteered at community food drives despite struggling financially himself. It documented unpaid medical bills, overdue rent notices, and glowing letters from teachers praising Hazel's kindness. It revealed that Graham frequently repaired broken toys for neighborhood children using discarded materials collected during his cleaning shifts. Not a single complaint appeared in hundreds of pages. Only quiet generosity. For the first time in years, Celeste cried. She realized wealth had surrounded her with polished appearances while true character had quietly existed inside the maintenance closet of one of her own office buildings. Determined to thank him personally, she visited company headquarters during the afternoon. What she witnessed shocked her. A senior executive publicly humiliated Graham after accusing him of delaying an important meeting because he had stopped to comfort a frightened intern experiencing a panic attack. Employees watched silently as insults echoed through the lobby. Graham accepted every harsh word without defending himself. His only concern was whether the young intern had recovered. Celeste stepped forward. The room instantly fell silent. Every executive recognized their billionaire owner. The same executive who had humiliated Graham confidently explained that the janitor had interrupted productivity. Celeste calmly asked whether compassion had become a violation of company policy. No one answered. She requested the intern's security footage. Within minutes, everyone saw Graham kneeling beside the frightened employee, patiently helping her breathe until medical staff arrived. He had not delayed business. He had protected someone who desperately needed help. The executive's confidence disappeared. Celeste announced immediate disciplinary action for those who valued profits above humanity. Then she surprised everyone by inviting Graham and Hazel to lunch. Graham initially refused special treatment. He insisted he simply wanted to keep working honestly. That response only strengthened Celeste's respect. Over the following months, an unusual friendship developed entirely during daytime meetings, charity events, and family activities. Hazel quickly adored Celeste, who discovered genuine happiness helping the energetic little girl plant flowers, build birdhouses, and paint colorful murals at children's hospitals. For the first time in years, laughter returned to Celeste's life. For the first time since losing Evelyn, Graham allowed himself to believe happiness might still exist. But happiness rarely arrives without challenges. Certain board members began spreading rumors, claiming Graham manipulated Celeste for financial gain. Social media amplified false stories. News outlets chased sensational headlines rather than truth. The pressure became unbearable. Rather than protecting himself, Graham resigned. He believed leaving would preserve Celeste's reputation. When Hazel learned her father had quit, she quietly asked a heartbreaking question. If good people always walk away, who teaches everyone else how to stay kind? Her innocent words changed everything. Celeste refused to let lies decide another person's future. She organized an open company gathering. Employees from every department attended. Instead of delivering a polished corporate speech, she shared the complete story of how an exhausted janitor had once helped a vulnerable stranger expecting nothing in return. She explained that real leadership begins with character, not titles. She revealed Graham had never requested money, promotions, or recognition. The room erupted into applause. Many employees admitted Graham had quietly helped them through difficult days without ever asking for credit. Maintenance workers described him repairing broken wheelchairs for visitors. Receptionists remembered him buying lunches for delivery drivers caught working double shifts. Security guards recalled Graham staying late to comfort employees after family emergencies. One by one, hidden acts of kindness surfaced until even the most skeptical executives lowered their heads in shame. Celeste then made one final announcement. The envelope resting on the conference table contained documents establishing the Mercer Foundation, named after Graham's late wife. Funded with hundreds of millions of dollars, the foundation would provide scholarships for single parents, emergency housing assistance, grief counseling, childcare support, and career training for families struggling to rebuild their lives. Its first director would not be a celebrity. It would be Graham. He tried to decline. He insisted someone more qualified should lead. Celeste smiled and explained that qualifications could be taught, but integrity could not. Months later, families across the country began rebuilding their lives through programs inspired by Graham's compassion. Parents found stable jobs. Children received school supplies. Widows and widowers discovered support groups filled with understanding instead of judgment. Hazel proudly watched her father help strangers the same way he had always helped neighbors. The greatest surprise arrived during the foundation's opening celebration. A quiet letter had been discovered among Evelyn's belongings years earlier but misplaced during several moves. Inside, she had written that if anything ever happened to her, she hoped Graham would someday find someone who reminded him that love does not replace what was lost, it honors it by giving the heart permission to care again. Reading those words beneath the warm afternoon sun, Graham finally released years of hidden sorrow. Celeste stood beside him, not as a billionaire, but as someone who had also learned that healing often arrives through unexpected people. Before we reach the end of this story, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment telling us what touched your heart the most. Do you believe one act of genuine kindness can completely change another person's future? Years later, visitors entering the Mercer Foundation headquarters noticed something unusual engraved beneath the entrance. It did not mention wealth, power, or success. Instead, it carried a simple message inspired by Graham's life: the strongest people are often the ones who quietly lift others while carrying their own burdens. Graham never became famous for being a janitor, a single father, or the man whose life unexpectedly crossed paths with a billionaire. He became unforgettable because he chose compassion when no one was watching, integrity when no reward was promised, and hope when giving up would have been easier. Celeste discovered that the greatest investment she ever made was not in technology or business but in believing in a good man who had almost been overlooked by the world. Together, they proved that one unexpected day, one selfless decision, and one compassionate heart can rewrite an entire future. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Thank you for being part of our family and our community, where every story reminds us that kindness, forgiveness, and hope can transform even the most impossible circumstances.